Hello and welcome to the Talking Stick Show. So my name is Dale and I'd like to welcome our special host. We have the grand Massey, Laura Massey. Hello.
Hi Dale, hi Amy, hello
Hello.
everybody. Hi.
Hello. And we have Amy Kruzek joining us
Yes,
again. Hello, Amy.
yes. Hello, everybody.
Woo-hoo.
Thank you for
And
having me
how have you
here.
been?
Been good. Been good. Yeah.
And what's going on with you? What's new in your life and your world?
Well, I've just been busy with the UCM community and been doing that and been kind of doing my show unscripted. It's kind of on hiatus. So I've been trying to do it in a different way, but I know I'm going to have Dale on and we're going to do an interview for your soul audit. Talk about that. Yes. So
I don't know why I did
yes,
that. I was
I want
like,
you to. Yeah.
yes.
So I've been busy with that.
Beautiful. And Laura,
Okay,
what's going
any
on with you?
announcements? Have you got any announcements?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Sorry, I try and
Announcements.
All right.
string two words together. Have you got any announcements from UCM you need to make?
Yes. Well, if anybody would like to join the UCM community, David and I are the admins there, which keeps me kind of busy. And it's at community.universaltv. Oh, sorry, guys. Erase that. Community.universalcitizentv.com. And there's the little QR code there. And we have business clinics once a month. We have AI tools and software for your business and website, very easy to use. We have certified courses and counseling, and which Laura is part of right now. And we're going to do a Yoga Alliance certification coming. I have no idea when, but it's coming soon. And resources and meditations. I mean, just come on and check it out.
Cool. You really are the spiritual alternative to YouTube and Facebook and so on, aren't you? A
Yes.
community of like minds.
Yes. We're becoming more professional and educational with spirituality thrown in there, if that makes sense. So, yeah, we've kind of done a little twist to things. So, yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah.
Laura, so what's going on? What's coming up for you? What have you got going on lately,
Well, what
event-wise?
we have got going on in Andrew's absence, we will mention his mentorship, which I believe is starting April the 4th. There's been an email sent out from GHHQ. So have a look and respond. Let us know if you'd like to come along. I believe there's a link on the email for you. I've done the mentorship. I think Dale has,
Mhm.
Amy
Yeah.
has, and it is amazing.
Yeah.
Every time he does another mentorship, he comes up with a different set of teachings. I don't know how he does it. I guess
Mhm.
that he's the Galactic Historian, so he can do it. But it's amazing. It can really propel your growth and your journey. Also, what is coming up is slight change of dates for the combined healing that was due to happen in April. So in April, we will have 2 HIFU days for ladies. So that is a sacred feminine package for 2 days where you'll come to York, we'll go and do the usual lot of combined treatments, and on one of the days you'll be able to have HIFU, which is the high intensity, high frequency ultrasound for your feminine parts, for your vagina. So it's for vaginal tightening and many other things which are on the post now, which I won't go into. But there's also special sacred feminine meditations we're doing, and you'll get to experience the combined therapy system. And do it from a sacred feminine point of view. So that's still going on the 18th and 19th of April. And then we have moved the Paranormal Rangers tour to York and the combined therapies, which will be together with discounts on both. We have moved that to June. So new dates will be coming out soon. I think that's it, Dale. I think we're updated
Beautiful.
now.
And for myself, I will be as well offering a new healing modality called Soul Audit. So I'll be offering these as a one-to-one session. I offered this last week. I think I started doing it from 2 weeks ago. So if you'd like to have your soul audit, go on to daletobin.com and look on to book there. So soul audit is all about remanagement and how looking into one's dream weave and understanding what's needed in that moment for that client's growth. So I'm able to look into the ancestral lineage. I'm able to look into the tree of life. I'm able to communicate with the bear lodge, the dreaming lodge, the ancestors, and I work together with them as a team. It also includes some soul surgery, psychic surgery, soul retrieval as well, but it's more of an audit of your soul. So I'm able to actually say what's needed in the moment for you to actually be on the exact timeline you're meant to be, basically. Because a lot of people become scattered, a lot of soul shards send them off a rare into different kind of potentials and so on. So I'm able to how to show you the roadmap back to yourself. So it's very exciting because from the years of doing psychic surgery, I realized I was doing much more than just fixing people, adding stuff, putting people back together. There was much more going on now, and I'm excited to bring this new frequency to everyone. And also, I've got Psychic Surgery 1 as a product on my website now. So if you haven't done the Psychic Surgery 1 training, it's available to buy as a product on there. So yeah, cool. Let's get started. So fear. Let's talk about fear because we're talking about disengaging from fear porn. So let's break down the word fear first. Laura?
Well, I'm a bit frightened to talk about it, Dale. I might get censored. Fear, that's what insidiously creeps into our lives, either externally or something we hold internally. I was thinking about that before the show, Dale and Amy.
Yeah.
That it's not just fear porn we associate with something external that comes through the global narrative that is designed to keep us in fight, flight, or freeze, divide and conquer, etc., etc., to keep us out of our sovereignty. That's the whole thing of external fear porn. And it's been going on for probably 2,000 years or more. But I also thought it's something we might look at later in the show, Dale, is our internal fear porn, that paranoia that we can build up when we get into lack of self-esteem, that inner voice, that inner demon that wants to take us over and put us into fear then. So there are
Yes.
different types of fear porn. So yes,
Great.
that is my understanding of it.
Amy, what's
Yeah,
fear mean to you?
that's really good. I mean, I agree with all of that. Okay, it's weird because I had like a childhood version of fear is different than an adult version of fear, if that makes sense. Like scared, like somebody scares you, or you have a fear of heights or the swing or something like that. But I think it's more now that I understand it more. It is something that is a belief inside that you thought you should be fearful of. And that could be, I don't know. It could be strangers, I mean, as a kid, like that type of thing. And then things I didn't know were like the TV and the news. Like I didn't know that was actually programming me, shows that you watch, like all that deep stuff. If that makes
Yes.
sense. Does that make
Yes, it
sense?
makes perfect sense. Makes perfect
Yeah.
sense, Amy.
It's
And that's it.
almost an it's
Go
almost an
ahead.
unwelcome thing that's happening. Like I didn't welcome that in, but it came in unbeknownst to me. Yeah.
Yes. So if we break down the word fear, false evidence appearing real, and it's something as Amy talked about, we've grown up and tried to figure out what's real, what's not real. But our belief system have sent us off on a ride many
Mhm.
times. And this happened to me when I was a kid watching films, watching horror films, or just something what made me a bit nervous or scared. Then all of a sudden I'd think something was there and something wasn't there. A good example here would be I watched Blair Witch Project, which was a horror film when I was a kid, and I was terrified. I was scared of it, but I loved it. And I remember going down to the woods and I could see things and I could hear things. and I was making everything false evidence appear real then. And that was the start of the journey for me. It was like this nagging, this weird fear, which can connect to anxiety, can't it, a little bit sometimes? There can
Yeah.
be like a crossover going on there. And as I grew older and older, there was just bigger challenges for me. And listening to the news, like going back to, I remember being in high school and September the 11th, that was a big one. I remember going into class and I was a kid in year 7, I think I was. I must have been about 13, 12 or something. And the head teacher said, right, everyone get into this hall. And I went in and there was Bush and there was obviously talking about it and you saw the Twin Towers. And I remember there was just subtle programming going on in my reality until the point where the next year some other shit would happen, or the next year like Jimmy Savile, or just stuff going on within the world. So I was kind of like, I think program is the right word to say, isn't it, guys? We get programmed so much, we're like sponges, and it just keeps seeping and seeping within us until we start to actually realize, no, we can't do this anymore.
And those who don't realise get into the long-term anxiety, which can lead to things like OCD.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's something that just seeps in, and we have to become aware of the places that it's coming in from the global narrative, where it's coming in.
And that's it, being aware of your environment and seeing yourself from the eagle eye, allowing yourself to see what TV you watch, what you do during the day, what you look at your phone all the time, just subtly things which are going on in your reality. Like sometimes I'm a sucker for looking at the news. I've stopped doing it, but I used to be. I used to look at the news all the time, or I looked at a conspiracy or something, and there was just there was constant dopamine releases. But at the end of the day, it didn't get me anywhere in life, and I turned into a light worker, and that didn't do well. That didn't end up going well for me.
Yeah.
But they play on fears that we already have, don't they?
Yes,
They do.
The underlying fears we have, that's what they're playing on.
That's
So
it.
it's anything from lack, poverty, war.
Joel,
Yeah.
there's porn for every fear. Yes, great words, Joel.
And
And that's
anything
it. And
can be hijacked that they can put fear into, whether it be weather, climate change. I mean, we covered some of this on the
Yeah.
Doomers and Gloomers show before. Overpopulation, anything like that.
climate change, I'm quite
Yeah.
wary of what words I'm saying here. Trigger words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all remember that. So let's talk about we'll call it CC. I'll just mention it and call it CC.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about CC. You know what I'm talking about here.
CC.
Yeah.
So that for me was a big thing, because before I was into the self mastery, the self healing, I always believed it, that the world was going to end, or it was going to get hotter and hotter and hotter. You saw people like Leonardo DiCaprio rallying and pushing forward this kind of false fear about, we need to do something for the planet because shit's going to go down. And I remember always sucking into it until I found Andrew's material, and I was realizing, what am I doing here?
Yeah, and the whole point of that is to take us away from our heart-based decisions, heart-mind judgments, into adrenal, isn't it? Anything like that. That's what it does.
Yeah.
So, yeah, related to the CC, I believed it at one time, and then I realised that is a natural.
What happened? Laura.
I think Laura has gone. Let's see. Laura, are you there? I think Laura has.
Yeah.
So for me,
Yeah.
that the CC, you know what we're talking about here,
Yeah,
climate
yeah,
change.
yeah.
I'm just trying to say it that much because it probably flag up. But there was a time where, yeah, I did believe it. I did give into it. And like Laura said, you actually start becoming acidic with this fear constantly coming at you, and learning heart-based skills, learning self-mastery is very important. it'd be interesting in the chat as well if anybody's got any
Yeah.
questions or any experience they've had about fear porn or just growing up in the world around them. Just some of the things what went on. If you'd like to put it in the chat, it'd be great to hear some of those.
Yeah, and also you have to, with that CC, you have to remember about all the groups that formed because of that added to it, like Peace Corps. Well, would it be Greenpeace or Save the Whales or
Yes.
all of that you'd get stuff in the mail about it. Like it was just inundated.
Yes.
So they
And
kind of know
it's
what
like,
they're doing. They kind of know, like, let's just inundate them with things.
and it's like a new season every year. So one season they'll go on about the CC, the next season it'll be about war, the next season it'll be about refugees, the next season
Yeah.
it'll be about something. It's kind of like just constantly the next season to the next. There's a new film going on. There's a new film going on, and a lot of people actually just spend time during the day just watching the news every night.
Mm-hmm.
And I have family members like
Me
that,
too.
and they just suck it up. It's literally
Too.
on a night time they put the telly on, watch the news, and all of a sudden they're in the system. They're in the fear.
Yeah.
They're in the acidic mode. They don't really trust what's around them. They give insurance. They pay a lot for insurance because that's what they want you to do. They want you to be scared, so you give the system more money and allow the farm to kind of like feed off you in a
Mm-hmm.
way
And what do you
because we're
think?
the cattle.
Yeah, what happens in the body, Dale, when you this is constant 24/7 watching the news? I don't.
So
Yeah.
so with the body, it would be the programs. So you're basically the soul will step to the side. The
Ah.
programs will completely take over you, and all these people who watch TV all day, news, 98% of their day they'll be in program Agent Smith mode. So they'll just be constantly programmed. They'll be constantly doing things. It's like I know someone in my close family member,
Mm-hmm.
and she's always in program mode.
Mm-hmm.
There's not actually one time where the soul's actually there. She's listening. She's understanding. There's a heart kind of connection going on there. So I'd say for the body, it would go into different states of programs. They'd be very ungrounded. They'd be very unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say there'd be a lack of their own personality. There'd be lack of consciousness there for them. The body would probably be in an acidic state, stress state. So, what does stress happen with stress, Amy? What are some of the things what go on there? Because
Oh,
that does lead, that's a connection to all the fear porn stress. It puts the body under
it does.
stress.
It does. It does. It's almost another type of fear, right? Like that fear puts on another fear, puts on another. It just like layers to me. That's what it feels like. And then you don't really know what's real or what is going on. You can't even dig yourself out of it. It's bizarre because I have the same
And that,
family members that I don't even bring it up. It's like I'm not even bringing it up. I don't know if you're the same way, but it's like I'm not going there. Yeah.
or the best one is where the the king's coronation. I always have to hold my breath. So I went round to my mum's and she was having like a coronation party, and she kept turning around and looking at me, and she went, "I know you're not a royalist," and I'm like, and I remember saying, I said, "I'm not engaging here. Don't ask me what I believe, please."
Yeah.
Then someone turned around and asked me what I thought of it, and I didn't go into kind of like telling them what I thought. I just said, yeah, it's not something I really enjoy
Mm-hmm.
doing. Or politics, when you bring
Mm-hmm.
up politics at a family event, and everyone starts arguing, then someone asks me a question, and I try and be peaceful and nice and not have
Yeah.
one side and listen to everyone's, but I still get fucking grilled.
Yes. It's so true.
Dale's Royal Palace. Yes. Joel in the chat there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was just thinking too, like, I think it was in one of the mentorship classes or something happened where when you're in utero, like whatever year you were born in, go back and look at the history of that, because whatever your mother was watching or doing, and that again is something that has already, you didn't even ask for it, was unwelcomed, but it is kind of programmed there.
Yes. And so, Laura, I'd like to ask you this question because Amy asked me a great question while you froze there. was what do you think happens to the body then when you're going through this state of fear porn? The actual body.
That's your body. You have more adrenaline release, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
So it puts you, long term, that puts you in greater degrees of stress within your body. And to have a stressful body means you're more susceptible to illnesses, diseases, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's taking you away from your heart base.
The sympathetic.
And that is what's designed. That's what it's designed to do, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that's what we're talking about. Fear porn. We're not just talking about natural fear of, like, if a bear comes up to you, because that is, like, hopefully short-lived. you either run or you're dead.
Yeah.
But the fear porn downloads that are delivered all the time without us sometimes even knowing it I think that's what causes the long-term anxiety in people.
Mm-hmm.
It makes them susceptible then to, if you want, greater rule. It's the old divide and conquer rule, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Layer after layer of control. That's what they want you in. To be
Yeah.
controlled, feeding the system, not even knowing you have a choice of life, not even knowing you have choice of sovereignty, not even knowing that you're connected to grandmothers and grandfathers, and how incredibly potent and powerful you are as a being. There's always, it's just they're trying to separate us at birth. And everyone listening, everyone watching, following Andrew, me, Laura, Amy, whoever, we all want change, and we all want to go on a different path than that, because we've seen truth and we understand truth. And we've gone through many different experiences of darkness or betrayal or our own programs kicking off. And we're here today, ready to learn, ready to change. And what an interesting topic.
Yeah. So there is some sort of like acceptance of it, isn't there? There wasn't.
Unknowingness.
Yeah. Unawareness. Right. There wasn't.
Yeah. And I guess sometimes an awareness, because we've got to live in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah.
But it's also it tends to get to places almost before us. So, like, conspiracy probably started off with a lot of truth, but that gets co-opted by the system as well.
Yes.
And then a lot of those get turned into fear.
Yeah.
Planet Nibiru.
Even like simple things, like I'm just remembering, like at the dentist office the other day. I mean, they had the news going. You know, all the doctor's offices now have TVs. Like it's like it's almost like, oh my goodness, and it's loud. Why is it so loud? Why can't you just have the volume off? You know,
you will get this message. We will imprint. Yes, we will imprint on you.
Yeah.
Didn't you hear me the first time?
I know.
I'm going to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it until it's absolutely part of your parasympathetic.
Yes.
We've got you.
Oh, we got you. We got you.
I
actually, this is strange, but I actually carry earplugs in my purse, because sometimes I'm like, I don't even want to hear that.
No. And all the subliminal stuff as well, all that subliminal advertising and that goes on.
Oh my God, pharmaceutical. Yeah, that's another thing. You're sick, you need this. You're sick, you need this. And yes, I thank goodness for pharmaceutical, or I would be dead by now. But you know, but there is that push, you know, and then the doctors push it on you.
And that's it, the fine line. Like, even when you talk about pharmaceuticals, doctors, a lot of people become light workers or go so far up the fear of even the system that they don't get antibiotics or they don't get tablets, which are going to give them 10 years of life extra. So it's about trying to find the medium balance and going back to obviously being neutral, being in the stance where you see all sides and you don't take sides, and you understand what is actually needed for the moment. The amount of people who kill themselves or do destructive things because they don't go to the doctor. The amount of times we've had that time and time again because they're in fear. They've been completely programmed, even not from the system, but might be programmed from the conspiracy. And this is another thing, obviously. It's not just the system. It's also the conspiracy theorists and some people out there who have podcasts who just talk about darkness, fear, the aliens are invading, or someone getting attacked or out like that, those also are using and working kind of with the system in a way to
Yeah.
continue on doing the
Yeah.
job, even though they're not kind of paid by them in the metaphor sense. They're still feeding the machine, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's only noticing the negative things in life and not noticing the joys. But
Yes,
that's what media puts forward all the time, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
there we go.
I
Mm-hmm.
think somebody said once, "There's, we need a good news channel."
Yeah. Do you know
I
one?
think there was one. I don't, Joel, you might have heard of this. Do you remember Andrew going on a show with a guy called Sean? He's that famous director's son.
Oh, I
Yeah,
know who you're
Sean
talking.
Stone. Sean
Yes, yes,
Stone.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Sean
remember.
Stone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sean Stone actually had a new. It might actually be still going. He had a news channel where it gave you true news each week or every
Mm-hmm.
day or something like that. So there was actually that, but again, it was just like a fart in the wind. It didn't really have much
Yeah.
push onto the narrative. Yeah,
Okay, so Dale, when you said that, how do we
buzzsaw. That's it.
okay, how do we
Go on.
know what the truth really is? I think okay, so Sean had that show, Sean Stone. And how do we know
Yes.
that he was telling the truth? Like where like how you can just go like how do we know? I guess it's here in our in our heart like
Yeah.
just know. You just know. Like I don't know. That's why I don't listen to it anymore.
That's it.
That's why. It's
I think there's like a kind of an inner knowingness, and if you really do
Mm-hmm.
the inner work and do the balancing, the grounding skills, you can just sense what's bullshit and not
Mhm.
straight away. It's like when someone's giving you an absolute load of bullshit sandwich and you can just see it straight away.
Mhm.
It's kind of like that inner sense, isn't there? And with that guy, I think he had a lot of good people around him and he was very interesting. I highly recommend people go and watch that interview with Andrew. I think he had two of
Oh
them.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Really, really incredible, and he's got a lot. I'm not really kept up to date with his stuff now,
Oh
actually,
wait,
but yeah,
Kimberly
you must
said
go back.
Russell Brand. What about Russell
Yes,
Brand?
so Russell Brand again, and I had a conversation with Andrew about this at Combined because we had similar thoughts on it. So I listened to Russell Brand for a long time, and I think he's an incredible person. He is a heart-based person and is authentic,
Mhm.
but because of what's happened to him, with all the shit what happened to him, the allegations against him, and so on, it made him go into anger. And this is
Ah.
what I've seen lately with him. He's using it now for anger instead of actually using it to spread the truth. You can tell there's a lot of anger and pissed offness with what's happened to
Mm.
him in there. So I've had to stop listening to him. But I'm sure he may turn it around. Zealotry, yeah, spot on.
Mhm.
I
But
think the
he's
other
great.
thing is to point out is certain things are true for you at certain times. So I believed Golden Age of Gaia and all the other stuff that we've talked about before, that we were going to be saved by the aliens and so on. And that was true for me at the time. And then different things become true for you as you go along your journey. And hopefully, if you're going on the right evolutionary path, you're going to drop a lot of those untruths and the things they want you to believe to hold you back. But that's because you're becoming much more into your heart spaced awareness. And as I think you two are saying just now, to find out whether something is true or not is just whether it's true for you in that
Mhm.
moment, isn't it?
Mhm.
So I've got some very, very lovely friends who, still absolutely believe in CC, as we're calling
Mhm.
it,
Mhm.
and things like that. And I've got to the stage where I realize it's not my place to try and convince anybody of anything
Mhm.
because that is their truth.
Mhm.
And that's what they need at this moment on their journey, and maybe later on they'll get to see some of the signs which show us that really when the climate changes, it's a natural thing that earth is doing. It's like we're getting a lot of rain at the moment in the south of England. I think you are in the north as well, Dale, aren't you?
Mm.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and so many people want to say it is a change of climate. Putting it another way. But when you ask Andrew, and that's what feels right to me, he said it's Earth Mother cleansing.
Mm-hmm.
Earth Mother is moving her waters to where she needs to move them to. Now, that feels right for me, but it might not feel right for somebody else. So I think, it is based on where you are on your journey. But this show is about don't be fooled, isn't it? In this show, we're saying, look at this insidious fear porn that's coming out, that what it's doing is disabling you. It's disabling your journey. Because if you were to investigate it thoroughly and use heart space discernment, you'll probably arrive at the same sort of point that we have. But it's not necessarily what everybody's going to do for their part of the journey at the moment. But I think it is a responsibility with us to sort of discuss it and point it out and say, hey, look, they've been pulling, I think I put it in the revocation I'll read in a minute, the wool over our collective eyes for a long time. That's what they've been doing, and giving us a lot of half-truth, mistruths, and so on, in order to keep us dominated. And we're all about sovereignty. Everybody here on the show, hopefully all the people who listen to us, are about self-sovereignty and mastering our own lives. Compassion and unconditional love and equal co-creation and non-competition, all those things we've learnt from Andrew. So I think it's really a valid show, even though everybody will have their own view. It's a really valid show to actually offer people the choice, isn't it? That choice of awareness.
Well, they call it the three-sided sword, don't they? The three-edged sword. Your truth,
Yes.
my truth, and the truth.
Yeah.
So you've got my truth, someone else's truth, but you've got the truth within the middle.
Yeah.
And that's I remember Andrew saying that. I think it was in the Galactic History. I remember listening to it about 10 years ago, that statement. It's always stuck with me. It's always free. There's always three of them. Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
We are back. We just had some technical difficulties then, but we are back with you.
Laura.
With Laura.
With
Laura, do you
Laura.
want to share what just happened there?
Okay.
So, Amy, you were asking a question, weren't you? And
Yes,
what was that?
I was.
Okay,
so let's say somebody out there is watching our show and they hear this and they're like, how do I get it out of that, fear porn? What steps can I take? And, because it's time. Maybe this is, it's time for that.
So, as in what? So, the question: how you can take someone out of that?
Yes. No, not you, but yourself. How do you take yourself out of that? Like, how did we get out of that? How did we ourselves step out of that and into more sovereignty within ourselves about all the fear porn out there?
How did you do it, Amy?
Yes.
How did you do it?
Well, I think mine started definitely with inner work for sure, right? Because we have all the programs, even since utero. So I know that working, so we get to work backwards to work forward. So you go back and you just kind of work on your beliefs and work on your programs and your patterns, and just start noticing every little thing when you're in front of the TV. Why am I sitting here? Why am I watching? Like, questions. Just question yourself. That was a big one for me. I questioned everything for so long of why am I doing this? Why? Why? And then dig deeper, because the first answer is really not the first answer. It's like, but you have to be your own interrogator, kind of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's in some ways you do just switch off the TV and you go into nature.
Yes.
I mean, that's the first, most obvious one. And then the next one is be discerning about what you watch. And there's nothing wrong with taking on information, but it's staying in that sacred neutrality, as Andrew's always saying, so the information doesn't change you. You don't go into polarized positions. You don't go into voting for this party or the other party. Otherwise, you're just back in that, you're split once again.
Yeah.
You're divided, and we want to remain whole and sovereign.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it all
So
can,
I think that is a big one, and the getting out in nature just washes away so much of that.
Mm-hmm.
And nature is so much. Nature is neutral, isn't it? Like that, you're not
Right.
getting that anything like that. You're not getting hit with it. You're not getting bombarded by it.
And just make sure you're not listening to something in your ears. If you're trying, you can, I mean, I do now, but back then it's like, well, no, because then that's still going in if I'm in nature and I'm listening to, a podcast or whatever.
Natural sounds.
Yeah.
Well, it's natural sounds, isn't it? And the natural sounds are the healing sounds.
Yeah.
The frequencies that come out of the telly and the radio and all the rest are a bit disresonant with us, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
So
I don't think that's a light worker myth, is it, Dale? I don't think they are quite the same frequencies as they should be for us.
yeah. So watch the trickster in yourself.
and that's it.
Yeah.
What you were all saying then is all down to choice, allowing the
Mhm.
fear to control you, not allowing the fear to control you. Each day waking up and making that conscious choice of saying no, I'm going to choose this way instead of that way. I'm going to drop out of the karmic ties or the karmic loops I always go into, and I'm going to start living more of a dharmic path as a dharmic warrior. And it's allowing that dharmic warrior to come out of you each day where you say, no, I'm ready to change. I'm ready to be a better person. I respect myself enough to not allow this fear to change me. And that's the inner work. It's going back and allowing yourself to what's the word? It's like what's the word? Decompress from it all,
Yeah.
allowing yourself to go to
Yeah.
your own inner chamber, decompress from it. I go on the PMF
Mhm.
mat lately every single day, probably like an hour and a half at the moment, to help me do that, because that's what I need at the moment. And it doesn't have to be a PMF mat. It can be so many different things. Flow, like Laura said, nature, but it all comes down to choice. And just notice what choices you have. And if you always see yourself falling into fear or falling into the paranoia or whatever, that again is you're just in the karmic loop. And it's about how you can get yourself out of that karmic loop into the dharmic state. And that's something I've been learning about myself, is all of these past highs of myself. I need to make the greater change to step forward even more. And it's just like with everything going on at the moment, there's just a need for the death and rebirth, the shaman's death, to happen each and every month, because the next month you might have more fear program or something may happen. So living the shaman's death daily is one of the best ways to do it.
I love that.
And what about that inner fear porn we give ourselves that you can't attribute directly to, say, global media, watching the telly or anything like that, where we've lost our parasympathetic to a program that tells us that leads to overthinking, thinking on something too much that's leading to long-term anxiety, that's leading to paranoia, that's really disabling our lives. We do have that as well, and I've had that recently. Dale and I have been discussing that recently about mastering the parasympathetic, where the programs lie, and what we learnt from counselling, Amy, with David, about memories and emotions being held together in the subconscious,
Yep.
and that one will trigger another. So with my paranoia program, I had to, again, go right back, do the inner work and journal. We're always harping on about this, but, journaling does make such a difference.
It does.
So writing out to find where in my relationships did I not feel I had love before, unconditional love and so on. And that was a journey down that road into loving the self, and the first relationship being with yourself if you want an authentic relationship with others. And that's just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I got into the found a real part of me that put me completely in paranoia until Andrew's helped me.
I was going through something like not the same thing, but the same thing. It was like, why am I ruminating? I kept ruminating and ruminating and ruminating. It's that feeling. And I journal, and the answer came in my journal. It was like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, Amy, okay, we don't have to do that anymore. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I soothe myself, you just talk to, I love talking to myself because it's like I have all these aspects and we just talk about it, and I talk out loud, even when I'm writing. It's like I talk out loud because it just helps me. That's the way I do it. But I was like, whoa, that was like, because I'm the person that always wants to have the harmony, and I'm taking
Yeah.
music lessons. So I'm learning about harmony and the melody. And it's like, I want the harmony and melody always to be together. But my inner self was saying, no, they're beautiful separate and they're beautiful together. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. It was like it was so simple. It sounds so simple, but to me, it was like, that's it. That's it. We can let people have their melody, and I don't need to make that my melody and harmony anymore. Like, I don't know. It was so cool. I don't know if you
Yeah.
understand that, but
Yeah. That's beautiful.
it's
So go ahead, Amy.
yeah, no, that's fine. I have to go
So
soon anyway.
it's the question Laura was asking, going back to that as well, is I think the first stage you can always have is recognizing the program, and that's the first part. When you recognize it and start recognizing them coming in, a lot of people are on the spiritual journey and potentially even watching now who don't even see some of the programs which drive them. And this is something which is like the hunt. You have to go on a hunt for yourself
Mhm.
to really find stuff out. And sometimes like situations can bring up paranoia or anxiety, and it's about really finding out where that's from, doing the work for it.
Mhm.
But the first stage is owning it, owning what it is,
Yeah.
and not beating yourself up about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because said it to Andrew and I kept saying it creeps in this program, it creeps in as if it was something external. And he said, supposing it's already there, supposing it's internal. And of course, so many of these things are because they're traumas that we've taken on since childhood
Mhm.
or generational stuff, isn't it? That's in our
Yeah.
DNA. So I guess it's wherever it's come from is how we are going to deal with it.
Yep.
How are we going to claim our sovereignty back?
Yep.
How are we going to oust that fear? And that just takes commitment and courage and doing the journey of the inner
Yeah.
work.
Effort,
Yes.
commitment, courage,
Yeah,
journey. Ah.
yeah.
And that courage is so fucking important in your journey, to have
Mhm.
that courageous
Mhm.
courage of going forward, because there's times like even my journey, I think 8 years ago, where I had programs or anxiety or anything like that which defeated me so many times, until the point where I just kept going with my work, kept going with my journey. They started falling down until the point where the anxiety didn't run me anymore. I obviously get anxious because I'm a human being. I mainly
Mhm.
get anxious when I get projections stuck into me. That's the main time I feel anything weird. But I used to have issues with social anxiety, all sorts of different things. But listening to Andrew and going through the inner work, doing the year by year, going out socializing all the time, I actually was able to break it. And I remember looking
Mm.
into the past and thinking, wow, look what I fucking done here. Like, look at me go. Like, looking at that person 7 years ago to who I am now, and like, I never thought I'd be able to change like this, and I have. And that
Mhm.
the courage and discipline, and yeah, it's so important.
And the victory in that, though, Dale, the victory. Like
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
celebrate those
yes,
victories, even the little ones, you
yes,
know?
And I think with every growth, you have to make sure you change something in your surroundings. I know when we've been away on combined therapies, before I come home, I realize that I'm coming home to different energies that I left.
Oh, yeah.
Because doing combined therapies, whether you're a client or practitioner, just lifts your frequency. Yeah, it just raises your frequency incredibly. And I know I'm not the same being coming back to the end to those energies, and some of those energies would have contained some sort of fear, some sort of anxiety. So I always send the precogs ahead,
Mhm.
right from when the key goes in the front door all the way through all the different, putting the kettle on, coming in, unpacking, telling the house that I've changed frequency and that I want to dismantle the old frequencies and fill where I live with my new frequency.
I love that.
And then the old fear programs have less room to be able to come back in, because we're changing, ever evolving beings. I mean, that's the aim anyway, isn't it? We're trying to grow all the time, and you can't grow if you keep taking yourself back to any stagnation, any place where you're stuck in a fight or flight mode, or freeze, anywhere the adrenaline energies are.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I got to run, guys, but thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you
Lovely to
Bye,
so
see you,
much.
everybody.
Amy.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good to
See
see
you
you.
soon.
Thank you for coming on to the 2
Yes,
shows.
thank you. Thank you.
Rare to see you.
Bye.
I know you're the same, Dale. I can speak to you with this. I have made a commitment to grow. I have made a commitment to offer my contribution in service to light. I have made a commitment to bring back the indigenous teachings, because I know somewhere that's in my soul DNA. It's in all of us. That's why we're here now. I've made a commitment to Earth Mother. I've made a commitment to my fellow beings and those who are on the same path as me, like you, that I will do my great work. And if I'm going to let every little piece of global narrative fear porn affect me, it's going to affect my growth. And I don't want that, because I've worked like you. I've worked hard. I've put in that commitment to be where I am now, and I want to do even more in the future that helps people find their own sovereignty and so on. I want to teach that, and I just cannot allow myself to get pulled into anything that resembles something that will divide and conquer me, that will ask me to go into zealotry, that will ask me to take one side or the other. Patriotism, wars, voting, all of that, all of the system setups that take your life force, take your energy, and I want to give that to the earth. I want to be in co-creation with the earth. That's how you get out of it. That's how you get out of the fear porn. Decide that you're going to co-create with Earth Mother, whether it's a walk or a ceremonial fire.
Getting tears in my eyes for that, Laura. That was beautiful.
Yeah, because it's from the
Yeah,
heart.
it
Like
is.
when you speak, it's
Yes.
from the heart.
And that's it. And going back to when you were talking there, it reminded me of how important prayer is. And this is something connecting to allowing to disengage from the fear. Prayer is one of the most important things you can possibly do. Like, it is so vitally important that you remind yourself each day why you're here, what you're doing, who you are, with the out loud name it to claim it system. That reminded me of that and how important prayer is for me now, and it has been in the past when I've been stuck or I've been lost,
Mm.
to help me navigate myself back to the roadmap of the remembering of who we truly are. And all of these times of forgotten, of listening to the news, going into fear, it's allowing ourselves to come back home to who we are again, and making that application each day at a time, not taking things so seriously in life. Try not to get triggered by certain things and people's energy, or people saying certain things to you. Don't allow it to trigger you. Just listen. You don't have to agree, you don't have to disagree, but just listening is important. And each day growing better and better as a human. And it is scary at times. Like, fear for me, I have fear sometimes
Mm.
about how much I'm changing. Some parts of me are in fear about it, because I'm like, I'm changing so
Yeah,
much. And then
yeah,
my highest each year, and I'm like, then there's a part of me like, holy fuck, I don't want to change. Like, yeah, I'm fucking changing, bitch.
yes,
I'm we're going this
yes,
way.
yes. I know that feeling. It's like I feel I can't touch or feel energetically that person I was, say, 10 years ago. And yet 10 years ago, when I really started listening to Andrew and started doing all the basic spiritual things, and it did give me a lot of joy, and I was thinking, well, I've lost touch with that person. And then I realized that isn't negative, that I've lost touch with that person. That's growth. Because also along with the early me was all the meek me's and all the other things that went to hug a Karen.
Yes.
So that that has been a big shift and a big change for me. But it's anybody who buys into any form of the fear porn that's out there, and we've named so many of them now, it's that famous question, how is that working for you? How is that aiding your growth? How is that giving you joy in your life? And it doesn't mean burying your head in the sand, ignoring what's going on either. You can be aware, but still stay neutral and still stay grounded to the earth, enjoying nature, and then you're carrying a better energy. And if you're going to carry that higher frequency energy, that's going to have a knock-on effect on the people around you. And then we start to raise consciousness, and then we start to lower the fear porn meter. That's how it works, isn't it? You don't battle fear porn, do you, Dale?
Yes. No, you don't. You don't battle against it, but you outcreate it. And that's the best thing you can possibly do, is outcreating it each day, not
Yes,
allowing it to have
outcreate.
relevance
Yeah,
within our lives, knowing we
yeah,
have a choice, and it all comes down to that simple word again: choice, choice, choice. And I made mistakes. I've made a lot of mistake choices, and it's about allowing those mistakes to be mistakes. And again, not
yeah,
beating ourselves up about it. Many times Andrew has told me, don't beat myself up about it, which I already started doing. So I've got to remind myself that just subtle things going on.
yeah. Flush the fear porn down the loo. Put it
Yes,
out with the garbage. The only way it's relative to your growth is what it's showing you shouldn't be.
yes. So
Showing you how much you're controlled if you're believing it.
So why don't we go into the revocation then, Laura? It seems like a perfect time to go into the revocation you brought.
Mm. Yeah, sure. Okay. Revocation of fear porn. I, in this ever present moment of now, call upon Great Mystery and Great Spirit to remind me of who I am, what I am, and why I dream this dream. I call upon Earth Mother to remind me of my organic natural evolution and of equal energy exchange in dominion with her. I call upon the universe, my galactic brothers and sisters, to remind me of my multidimensionality and the inherent potency of being an infinite being of unlimited point of view. I call upon Grandfather Sun to remind me of my true source connection. I call upon the ancestors to remind me of the mantle of responsibility I took up when I chose to awaken and remember my true potential, carrying that torch of eldership so the future generations would have a path to peace. I call upon the four winds to disentangle me from the static white noise of the mainstream media content of alarm spewed out relentlessly to suppress our natural joy. And I call upon Great Eagle of the East to show me the higher perspective of all things. Great Spirit, I recognize that many people do not take the time out from their chaotic lives to examine the hooks that keep them attached to whatever it is that forms their current reality of life. These hooks are held in place by a mass hypnosis, by the global narrative with its mass obedience to an ideological way of existence that many have never questioned for validity. I take my stand now as a multidimensional photonic being of light, awake and aware that I was born under Earth Mother's natural laws with sovereignty as my birthright. And with this heart-mind voice, I revoke the hidden hand of corruption and deception that entices us to buy into any fear that promotes long-term panic or anxiety. I revoke the force feeding by the world news and media of misrepresentation of world events. For this is not a signature frequency match to my authenticity. I revoke any of the great societal structures of government, finance, education, religion, and healthcare that are not fit for purpose or do not align with our own moral codes. Your complete lack of transparency and accountability only remains largely unexamined by a society that maintains your very existence Because you have pulled the wool over our collective eyes for so long, most of us have grown accustomed to this shallow and fraudulent existence. I strongly revoke any timeline in which I sold out my authentic self and accepted the values laid down for me by a self-serving system. I revoke your deception at the highest level. I choose to remember the whole concept and marvel of who I am, my own self-belief and singular joy I attained as a child. I undo all the energies that attempted to systematically wipe out my joy of childhood in stages from birth. I choose to recognize my authentic self as a being distinct from the archetypes the mass media promotes. I reject all times I've been misidentified at being at one with globalism and allowed myself to become blended into mediocrity. I reject all times I've forgotten I have a choice. I reject all times I've allowed myself to be made small and ineffectual on a world stage where you, the directors, have all the say, and we as actors must memorize and repeat verbatim our lines, and to go ad lib will cost us our acting role. I reject your assumption that you can write all the seams to form an entire play and continue to use the lines from old plays you wrote for us to perform eons ago to align with your slavery system. I revoke every time I turned up to the audition, cap in hand, because I was in survival to play out the same old scenes day in, day out. I fully recognise the only reason we appear to be in survival is because you wrote that in the script too. I fully revoke all the times I bought into this deception wholesale and stepped forward unwittingly enthusiastic to play my part. I now choose my own role this lifetime and revoke all times I didn't check the contract before I came to the auditions. I revoke all times when, in awareness or unawareness, I didn't read the small print because I was unaware that they could only be read with the opera glasses that you don't get until you're ready for a different perspective of being the observer of your own life. I revoke all the times I took everything at face value without investigation, not realizing that when we live in such a layered reality, that so much more lies beneath that exterior that's presented to us. And lies is the truthful word in the context of the system. We've been lied to over and over again by a system desperate to stay in control. I now dig deep beneath the layers of corruption for real meaning. I reject your tools of hypnosis and the energetics infused into them, and I make a sovereign choice to escape the superficial fear concepts the system uses that's thrown at us at every turn of the newspaper page, every turn of the street corner, every turn of the TV channel. There's a vacuous distraction into fear that can take over our psyche, so deep thinking and connecting to our own heart mind can never get any momentum. I hereby engage heart-mind to keep me out of the mindless distraction and insidious indoctrination of the system of domination and control. I choose to do an about turn and walk the other way, back to find myself in that heart connection. We've got ourselves lost and wrapped up in superficiality and fear, giving us little in mind, body and spiritual nourishment, but just enough for survival in an ever-competitive, joyless world. We're not meant to be joyless. We're meant to be living the full experience of life in any way we choose that doesn't knowingly negate another's path. And the only way to do this is to unhook from that setup. So I hereby unhypnotize myself and exit stage left, leaving your hollow stage with the stuck-on facade that's supposed to represent our lives. I revoke all co-opted conspiracy theories that create a hypnosis of fear equally as unbalanced as the very deceit they're trying to expose. I unhook from both of these extremes and revoke the use of these polarizations creating zealotry. I revoke all your co-opting and hijacking the conspiracy movement with the aim of encouraging seekers of truth into zealotry and therefore distraction. And I reject your weaponized information trying to pervert and put fear into any promising swathe of potential planet game changers with the aim of diversion into eventually losing their minds in the endless quest for a moving truth. I reject your social media memes on getting out of chaos to live a more meaningful life, deliberately missing the point that it's not about escape or running to the hills, so much as finding our authentic self, our sovereignty, our true heart connection we had as children. So we can unhook without having to run away. We can metaphorically leave the stage, yet physically exist in the same space, but with a different attitude, a shifted perspective. A role change beyond a change of costumes and persona, but one that gives us the backdrop to make our own decisions for ourselves based on our own heart-spaced awareness. This is a learned perspective which requires unlearning what we've been taught. We've been taught to rely on our systems, our infrastructures, our governments, our bosses to make the best decisions for us, even to think for us. And we're fearful of making our own decisions. Yet we're the one who knows best, who knows ourselves best. This doesn't mean these infrastructures don't have a place in our lives, but we get to decide their level of influence. So with this revocation, I take back control without fighting your proxy wars and getting drawn into patriotism. I recognise our only battle will be with any part of us that wants to give away our sovereign power to another, be it for comfort, conditioning, or an easy life. I know true authenticity starts with cognition of the completeness and fullness of who I am. I am mind, body, heart, and soul walking the earth, and I have a right to be here now, and various rites of passage separate of the system that aid my evolution, without the fear-porn bombs diverting my path. I free myself from all divide and conquer schemes you promote via religion, government, voting, TV, climate change, and weather, to name a few. Every day, at some level, we have to sacrifice some of our own closely held beliefs simply to exist in this world. Are we able to do this, yet retain our authenticity? It is possible. It's about being conscious. It's having awareness and bringing the contents of our lives into consciousness and examining them for relevance. Is this belief I have still serving me, or is it riddled with a fear that's not real? Recognize the level of influence that is projected on you to conform to another's ideals or way of living. Check out your own psychological weaknesses, where that influence seeps in your unawareness. Once you've acknowledged this, you're some way free. Being fully free is not just a perception, but an action of self-control, responsibility to the self to not fall back into the conditioning or behavior patterns, not giving those programs any head or body space to come back in and run your life. It takes full awareness to stop these on their well-worn tracks. A self-interrogation. Is that really my thought, my values, or someone else's? Does this really align with my beliefs? Is this just another subliminal use of fear? So I hereby work on developing a fully realized selfhood and self-mastery that is receptive to an unlimited universe that offers me choices. I acknowledge myself. I define me as being immune from the paranoia of fear porn that limits self-growth. No system, person, job, family, friends can define me unless I allow it. Even the universe doesn't define me, but gives me free will to define myself. We all hold inner truths based on our beliefs. These will change as we grow and learn, but they are ours. They don't have to align with anyone else's, but they don't have to be based in fear either. We are the director of our own lives, our performance on this stage of life. So I strut my stuff with heart-spaced awareness and my moral compass without apology, and step up and claim my role, write my own lines, my own story, free of fear, for I get to decide. No longer the understudy, no longer ruled by fear. Aho.
Oh, wow, that was beautiful. Powerful, powerful.
Good.
Woo. Wow, thank you for that.
That's okay. A lot of energy shifts there.
It is. Standing wave there. It was beautiful. How was that? So, people in the chat, how was that for you listening to that and observing that? What did it do for you? If you'd like to share your experience in the chat, that would be great. How did you feel reading that, Laura?
Good. Some of it I've written before as unhypnotize yourself.
Yes.
But I just added to it because it seemed to fit. I haven't written a revocation for a long time, probably not since we got banned with doomers and gloomers.
So if you're all aware, so the last revocation, Laura, we had a Doomer and Gloomer show a while back, and Laura
Long
did a
time.
revocation just for the Doomer and Gloomers, and we got striked on YouTube for it, and the video got taken down. So hopefully this won't.
It was
The
fun
Karen
though.
revocation, yes, it was. It was really really
Oh
fun.
yeah, and the Karen revocation as well. Yes, yes.
Uh, wow, what a show so far! What a show! Like
I've
really
no
really.
idea how long we've been on because this is our second time of coming on. So
Yes, we had a bit of a break. We had a
yeah,
popcorn break.
I don't know how long the first half was before we had the adverts in the middle.
So let's have a look into some people on the chat and what they've been saying lately. We have Judith. I started doing this where I forget something to make a mistake. I look at my dog and say, "Why don't you remind me? And why do you let me do that?" And it immediately makes me laugh and diverts. I believe that's when we were talking about seeing the programs for what they are. Yes, you've got to have that ha ha moment and laugh at yourself. You really do.
Yeah, you do.
So there we go. So, where can we go for the last part of the show, Laura? So, we've talked about programs, we've talked about fear. So, what could we do to help people moving forward with fear on everyday lives? So, we've gone about choice, we've gone about sovereignty. Is there anything else we could do?
Well, we've talked about what you can do in your everyday life. And it's up to individual people to make that choice and to make themselves aware of what they're taking on to align with, and does it really align with their beliefs?
That's it. Does it align with your beliefs? And what we talked about earlier was great, where you said everyone's belief system is so different, and we've got to appreciate that and respect that. And even people who fall into fear all the time, we've got to have forgiveness for them, and we've got to not judge them as well. And that's something I have to do, seeing my mum or seeing my family members always talking
Mhm.
about the fear and the doom and gloom. I have to not allow that energy to change me as well, because you can
Mm.
go into fear from people in fear.
Mhm. Just don't get drawn in. You can stay neutral and still have friends.
Yes, you can.
I do.
And remember to be human as well. And that's very important. Remind myself to be human. Have fun with the muggles. I love that word, muggles.
Yes. Yeah. And always we reach for joy, which is what we were talking about prayers earlier. But always reach for the joy to outcreate that fear.
Yes. And if you need help as well, going to see someone who does a session or someone who can help you look and kind of find a way for you to get out of that fear mode. The amount of times and sessions I've done where it's just
Mm,
all about them seeing the unlimited point of view again, finding inspiration, finding joy, coming out the session saying, "Yes, I'm ready to change now. I feel light enough to make changes within myself." So ask for help. So if you find yourself in fear and you're struggling, don't be a light worker who doesn't get sessions. Go see someone. It doesn't have to be us, it could be anybody. Someone who can actually look at you from another perspective and give you counseling and guidance. That's so important to disentangle
mhm,
from fear.
mhm. Shift your energies by getting a massage, anything, craniosacral therapy. Much of the fear is actually attached also to old traumas. So, getting
Yes.
some form of trauma release, a therapy that helps you with your trauma release too, or come
Yes.
to combined healing therapies with us.
How can combined disentangle you, Laura?
Yes, it does disentangle you, doesn't it?
So, guys, what I think we'll do, we're going to call this an end to the show. I know we've cut short a little bit, but I feel like we've got everything in and it's been amazing. So, Laura Massey, how can people get a hold of you for your skills? Laura, I'm frozen. Massey is back again. Hopefully, she'll end the show this time. So, if you'd like to have a session with Laura, her email's just below there. She also, if you're interested in coming on the combined therapy as well, drop Laura an email at laura2feathers@gmail.com. And also, just a reminder as well, Andrew has a mentorship coming up. And Joel has got have you got the poster to put on? Just going to find the poster which has the dates on. There we go. So Andrew has a mentorship coming up in April. So level 1 for level 2 as well. Me personally, I've been on the mentorship and it's completely changed my perspective. And each time Andrew has some nuggets and new teachings available. So if you'd like to elevate your own journey and have time and private sessions with the Galactic Historian, head over to sign up for the April mentorship. And so for myself, if you'd like to have a soul audit session, if you'd like me to look into your soul and see what's blocking you, if you need some help detaching from fear as well, head over to daletobin.com. I'm also doing a Psychic Surgery 1 available as a product. So if you'd like to learn the skills of how to start working on yourself, how to regularly clear yourself out of fear, projections, and so on, the Psychic Surgery 1 is available to buy as a product. I'm also offering half an hour free session with buying the product as well. So afterwards, you'll have time with myself privately. So yeah, thank you everyone for listening. And for those on all of the YouTube channels, Rumble, please drop us a like, a comment, and subscribe because that really does help us with the algorithm. And we all appreciate your support. Thank you and good night.